book friends, and welcome to my slightly insane book haul. In April there was International Book Day, which had a lot of sales going on around it, so I bought all of these books either on sale through Vinted or I used a gift card, so that's my reason / excuse for buying all of them. These will probably be the last books that I buy this year because I really want to work on getting through all of them now and not having all of them sit on my shelf for months and years and whatever. Quick disclaimer on all of the series featured here: I only buy the rest of the series if I've read the first book. So I have a lot of series minus the first book, and I'm still waiting to read ACOTAR, the first book, so I can get this one too. So that might be some books that I still buy this year. That doesn't count for shorter series with like 2-3 books though. But yeah, let's actually get to the books. So let's start out with Abby Jimenez series / slightly interconnected books. We have Part of Your World, Yours Truly, and the new release Just for the Summer. I initially only wanted to get Just for the Summer, but then I found out that they're kind of interconnected and that the characters from the earlier books appear in the later books, so I ended up getting all 3 of them. I've heard about each of the books that they're the best one, so I'm very excited to see which one will actually be the best one. I've never read any of Abby Jimenez books before, but I'm very excited to start getting into these. My star prediction for these are probably a 4 to 5 stars for all of them, just because I like these kind of rom-com easy romances with a little bit of emotional damage thrown in there. So yeah, that's my rating and the first books of the haul. Next up we have the Folk of the Air series minus the Cruel Prince. So we have The Wicked King, The Queen of Nothing, The Stolen Heir, and The Prisoner's Throne. There is a, I guess, 6th part coming out. As far as I know, The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing are like kind of a trilogy, and then we have a second trilogy that starts out with The Stolen Heir, The Prisoner's Throne, and then the last one. This is actually one of my favorite fantasy series that I started this year, and my prediction is gonna be 4 stars. And I love the world, like it sounds so beautiful but also like tragic, and like the politics and everything. I just love it so much. And a big recommendation for reading these books is, if you don't want to spoil yourself, don't read any of the back texts on all of these books except the first one, because especially with the latter, like the, I guess, second trilogy, there are a lot of spoilers on the back already. The second part in the Housemaid series, in German it's Wenn sie wüsste und sie kann dich hören, and this is the Housemaid Secret, so the second part. It reads a tiny bit like Verdi to me from the back, and I really loved the like thriller aspect of Verdi, and this one sounds similar with the wife being sick and kind of locked in a room, and I actually wasn't sure if I was gonna get this one or not, because it did sound so similar to Verdi. And the first part was 3 or 4 stars for me, so not like the best I've ever read, but then I got this on sale so that was my reasoning for getting it. My prediction for this is gonna be 3 stars, and I'm gonna read this very soon because these books are very quick to read. Our first standalone book is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I've heard so much about this book. Obviously it's not super new anymore, but I just really wanted to finally get on the Sally Rooney train and read this one. I think it's about like 2 friends who grew up in the same small town of West Ireland. They have some similarities, but they are also very different, and then they strike up a conversation and they talk about, like, I don't know, they just strike up a conversation and it's awkward but electrifying, and something life-changing begins. And I think it just sounds so interesting, and apparently her writing is really good and very different, so I'm very excited to see where this goes. My prediction, since this is, I think, just fiction, will be a 4 star, because usually I just don't love fiction books that much, but yeah, 4 stars is still really good. Then we have A Spell Unspoken and A Song Unnamed. These all have such tongue twister names, but these are part 2 and 3 of the Magic and Moonlight series. I gave the first one 3 stars just because it was a little bit dragged out, and there was one spice scene that I absolutely didn't need. I have very high hopes for this because it is a cozy witchy theme in New York City, and I just love this so much. And it's not too much of a fantasy, it's like just normal people, but they kind of sort of are witches, so it still feels very real and like it could technically be possible. So I really love this, and I also, as I've mentioned, love the New York City setting. I think these will both be probably 3 stars. I've mentioned this in one of my other videos, but the spice in here feels like somebody said, let's add that just for book talk, and I don't know, I just don't like it that much, but I still really want to keep going with this series because the rest is just really good. I really liked The Ninth House and Hellbent, and this one sounded so similar to me. The Invocations by Crystal Sutherland. I actually have no idea what it's about, but somebody described it as dark witchcraft, demons, and I don't remember the rest. I also really liked it. It's a standalone fantasy book because one can only read so many series, you know? So yeah, very interested to see where this goes, and I think this is gonna be a 4 to 5 star. And then we have House of Hollow, also by Crystal Crystal Sutherland. This was one of my Vinted buys. I've been wanting to get into this for such a long time because I think there's 3 sisters. Dark, dangerous things happen around the Hollow sisters. And I always eat up any plot with like sister secrets or like sisters in general. So I'm very excited to get into this one too. Again, a short standalone fantasy book, I think, or maybe it's a thriller or like a mix of the two. I'm just very interested to see where this goes. I think this is gonna be 4 stars just because it is, as far as I remember, one of the earlier works. But yeah, also very excited to start this. Then we have 2 more books by the same author, Lisa Jewell, None of This Is True, and Invisible Girl. This one was a Vinted buy. I have no idea what it's about, but I really like The Family Upstairs and The Family Remains. So I just really wanted to read some more of Lisa Jewell's work. And then None of This Is True has actually been on my TBR/want to buy for so long. This one is about 2 women, 2 strange women who start a true crime podcast together. I think they are both intertwined with the crime that's happening, and this just sounds a little tiny bit like Only Murders in the Building, but way darker. So I am just looking forward to this very much. I think this is gonna be 4 stars. And then this one, since I have no idea what it's about, I think this is gonna be a 3-star book. Let me read the back. When Sapphire Maddox was 10, something terrible happened and she carried the pain of it ever since. The man she thought was going to heal her didn't, and now she hides, learning his secrets invisible in the shadows. That sounds very interesting. Owen Pick is invisible too. He's never had a girlfriend, he's never had a friend, nobody cares. Nobody sees him. But when Sapphire goes missing from opposite his house on Valentine's night, suddenly the world seems to be watching Owen, accusing him, holding him responsible for Sapphire's, whatever it is, disappearance. That sounds very interesting. Next up, we have The Sanatorium and The Retreat. This is part of a trilogy. The last one is called In the Wilds. It's coming out this year. I actually have no idea how to sum up the plot of this, but I saw somebody on YouTube recommend these as her favorite books like ever, and I love crime and thrillers, and I love that it's a series. I hate that they're different sizes, but I got them on Vinted, so what can you do? An imposing isolated hotel high up in the Swiss Alps. Can only be good. The hotel is the last place Ellen Warner wants to be, but she's taken time off her job as a detective, so when she arrives, an invitation out of the blue to celebrate her estranged brother's recent engagement, has no choice but to accept. Arriving in the midst of a threatening storm, Ellen immediately feels on edge. Though it's beautiful, something about the hotel recently converted from an abandoned sanatorium makes her nervous. As does her brother Isaac. So her brother makes her nervous too. Okay, I'm not gonna read any further, but I think I'm gonna eat this up. My prediction for this series is probably 4 to 5 stars. Next up, we have Viola Davis' Finding Me, which is her autobiography, and I am so interested in her as a person, not only because we share the same name, but all of the roles she plays are just so interesting and kind of intriguing to me. So I just really wanted to find out more about her and like her story and everything. For me personally, any biography has to be 5 stars, because if somebody shares their story, it has to be good, or it has to be like appreciated. So this one's definitely gonna be 5 stars, and I am very excited to get to this one. And I also love the cover, and then we have her as a child on the back, and I think it's so simple and so beautiful. Okay, then we have The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. I've never read anything by her either, but I love the cover and it sounds so interesting. I'm not even gonna read the back text, I'm just gonna read you like the excerpts of different newspapers. A gorgeously written story of love and longing, of what it means to lose your place in the world and then having the courage to find it again. One of the most unique works of fiction I've ever read. A love story that spans time, worlds and magic. I couldn't put it down. So that sounds very interesting. I think this is gonna be a 4 star, and I also love the title, The 10,000 Doors of January. It says, I think, so much once you read it, but it says so little, and I just love it. They Both Die at the End is actually a book one of my friends recommended to me. It's supposed to be very sad, but also very comforting in the sense that nothing matters, but in a good way, because as the title says, they both die at the end. I guess everybody dies at the end. This gives me a little bit of Matt Haig vibes, and I think it's gonna be like a tragic story with some life advice woven in there, and I love that. So I think this is gonna be honestly 4 to 5 stars, even though it's fiction. Another impulse buy, The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I loved The 7 Year Slip by her, so I just had to get this. I don't know what it's about. The title sounded interesting, and I loved her other book, so I have high expectations. I think this is gonna be a 4 to 5 star book. Then we have How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwang, and I think the title sounds so interesting. The back text is quite long, but it also sounds very interesting. It's a couple that broke up 13 years ago, and then they've never seen each other again, but then they see each other again once they're both doing good, and I think they might work on getting like back together or like working up their past, and I think it sounds so interesting. And again, the title sounded so good to me. I think this will be a 4 star book, but I always love a tragic cute little romance. So I think this is gonna be very good. My sister loved Fourth Wing, and so did everybody else in Book Talk probably like 2 years ago. I did not hop on the bandwagon then because it just seemed way too big and way too long for me, but then I found this more digestible version of it, and I love the black and gold. So I finally got my hands on Fourth Wing. I don't think I have to say much about this because everybody knows at this point. I think this is gonna be a 4-star. I really hope that they bring out Iron Flame in the same cover design and in the same size as well, because this one is almost like, it seems like it's half the size of the hardcover of Fourth Wing. So yeah, finally in my collection. Next up we have Forever Interrupted by one of my favorite authors, Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love all of her like Hollywood documentation style books. I actually don't know what this is about, so let me read you the back text. One rainy New Year's Day, Elsie heads out to pick up a pizza. She isn't expecting to see anyone else, much less the handsome and charming Ben. Their chemistry is instant and electric. Within weeks they are head over heels in love. By May they're eloped. Okay. 9 days later, he's hit by a truck and dies on impact at the hospital. Elsie faces Susan, the mother-in-law she's never met and who doesn't even know Elsie exists. Okay. Interweaving Elsie and Ben's romance with Elsie and Susan's healing process, Forever Interrupted is the story of one life-changing year and a powerful reminder that there's more than one way to find a happy ending. Okay. I did not expect this to be so tragic. I always love Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing style, so I think this is gonna be a 5-star. And we have a little romance series, Done and Dusted and Swift and Saddled. I usually am not the biggest fan of like theme romances, like cowboy romances in this case, but I am first of all obsessed with the covers. They are the coolest thing I've ever seen. The main reason I got this was the covers, as I mentioned, and also I'm taking a trip to the country, like to Wisconsin later in the year, and I think these would be fun to read in like that setting. So I got them, and they're also quite short, and I just think they'll be like nice vacation books. My star prediction for these are 3 stars, just because I don't know much about them and I've never read a cowboy romance before, but we'll see. This one, The Book of Doors, was displayed as book of the month or year in my local bookstore, and I love the cover. It sounded so interesting, and it's also giving Matt Haig type vibes, so I just really wanted to get this. Since it is fiction, I'm gonna rate it 4 stars, but we'll see. In the same section we have the Gallagher Dream Department Store, the #1 Korean bestseller. The dream you ordered is sold out. That's the line that sold me on this, honestly. And the cover is so fun. It's also apparently one of the books of the month, year, whatever, and it just sounds really fun. Again, a fiction book. It's also quite short, so I think this will be a fun book for in between, but I also expect a life advice from this, so I think I'm actually really gonna like this. So I think this is gonna be a 4-star book. Then we have Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass. I honestly don't plan on reading this, but I love the movies so much, so I just wanted to have this in my collection. I've actually been looking for months to find like this cover that I liked, and then both of the parts in one book, and I am just obsessed with it. We have the full Throne of Glass series. Let me see if I can pick these up. So this is everything except Throne of Glass and the Assassin's Blade, because the Assassin's Blade for some reason is not available. I am so sad that these are not available in paperback, because this book, honestly, it's a workout lifting it up, and the size of it is absolutely illegal. It should be illegal to bring out a book this big in not paperback. Assassin's Blade, as I've mentioned, unfortunately isn't available. I don't know why, so I'm gonna have to read this on Kindle and wait until it comes out in hopefully like a year or so. As I've mentioned, I only buy the rest of the series if I've read the first book, and I really enjoyed Throne of Glass. The first book was 4 stars for me. That's my prediction for the rest of the series, just because it is so long. Actually, I forgot one book, the one that sadly hasn't gotten here on time, and the one that I've started out, like the one that I bought first, was Funny Story by Emily Henry. I've ordered it like a month ago and it still hasn't arrived, and I am so sad because I wanted to read this like as soon as I got it, but I haven't gotten it yet. So that's the last book in my haul. I'm looking forward to that one so much, because the male main character is supposed to be like Nick Miller, and they're in the same apartment together, so it's giving New Girl vibes, I think. I hope, because I love New Girl. So I think this is gonna be a 5-star book. Honestly, all of my previously read Emily Henry books were 5 stars, so I have very high expectations, and everybody's raving about it, so I think it lives up to the hype. Those are all of the books that I've bought in April and May, and as I've mentioned, these are probably gonna be the last books that I buy all year, so this is not a normal month of book purchasing for me. But I also did get a new bookshelf, so that kind of also justifies buying that many, and the sales and the gift cards, you get it. Anyways, let me know if you've read any of the books, if you have any recommendations with which ones I should start or which ones you liked particularly, and I'll be happy to read them and chat about the books. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.